On Monday, the second day of October 2023, the federal government of Nigeria, the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, and Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, reached a memorandum of understanding as a result of dispute arising from withdrawal of subsidy on the price of premium motor spirit, PMS. Among the issues at stake is the impact of the subsidy removal on transportation, whereby the federal government accepted to vote the sum of 100 billion naira for the provision of high-capacity CNG buses for mass transit in Nigeria. Provisions are also being made for initial 55,000 CNG conversion kits to kickstart an auto gas conversion program, while work is ongoing on state-of-the-art CNG stations nationwide. Meanwhile, the rollout is expected to commence by November with pilots across 10 campuses nationwide. Now, what are the peculiar benefits of this automobile conversion, and what type of gas is involved? Guests on Nigeria Today will be speaking to this and more on today's episode of the program. I am your carrier, Clinton. Welcome. Now, joining me in the studio to discuss this topic is Olapode Shomi, an energy expert. Is also a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure having you. Okay, now Olapode, we just go straight to the point. The rollout of the CNG buses and the auto gas conversion program. Tell us, walk us through this. What is it all about?
Okay, so basically at the root of it is a desire and a pursuit to diversify our energy mix. If you recall, the whole world is talking about energy transition, which is basically transiting from oil and gas to renewable energy and all that. There are a lot of thoughts on it, there are a lot of commitment and all that at the global level. But Nigeria, in its own wisdom, after you haven't looked at our own circumstances, has decided that our energy transition is going to be anchored on gas. So basically, one of the options is to increase the domestic use of gas. And one particular area for the use of that will be in CNG. And another reason why it's also of interest to the government is actually a cheaper option than the petrol. So basically, it will come in as an alternative, palliative, so to speak. And of course, more importantly, it will create options for Nigerians. So in terms of the overall policy and thinking, the whole idea is to increase opportunities for Nigerians in terms of how they will use their cars and how they will be mobile. Okay,
now tell us what are some of the benefits of these automobile conversion,
Well, first of all, it's less heavy on the engine. So if you, for ease of reference, if I buy a brand new Toyota today and I use fuel on mine and the other person uses CNG on his own engine would outlast the fuel engine by a significant amount of years, all other conditions being equal. In other words, its ability is softer on the engine and all that. The second part is that it's less polluting into the atmosphere. And that is why it's our source of energy transition. The whole idea of energy transition is that we want to use energy forms that does not pollute the atmosphere so that we do not destroy the earth in the bit of our doing our normal day-to-day activities. So at the root of the thing is that it helps Nigeria to fulfill our own goals of energy transition, thereby making us more responsible within the Committee of Nations. It provides a cheaper source of fuel for all options, for everybody concerned, and particularly those who are doing long distances, where there tends to be a lot of impact on cost in terms of transportation. So whether it be transportation of food, whether it be transportation of people, significant options, good options comes in with CNG that's not available in other options.
Now, some persons are concerned about the safety of these cars. So how safe is it?
It's actually safer than it's actually safer than petrol, because the flash point, that's the point at which it ignites, is 2 times lower than that of.
Tell us about this.
So this is basically physics now. I mean, science is physics. It's also chemistry. So because it's a liquid, I mean, it's chemical engineering, it's chemistry. So because it's a liquid, all liquids, particularly those who use, they have what you could know as flash points, which is the temperature at which it can ignite, at which combustion can take place. So if combustion cannot take place, it cannot explode, which is basically the main fear. That flash point, so you are likely to have an explosion via petrol before you have it via CNG.
Now, tell us, is it the same gas we use for, cooking gas? Tell us, is there any kind of difference? Or?
No, there are slight differences.
Okay.
But even the cooking gas that we use, in reality, it is odorless. However, because of the nature of that gas, what is being done is that they mix it with an odor, something that gives it a smell, so that when it leaks, you know. Now, typically, if the gas was lighter than air, it would be on top of air and it would go out of the room. But because the gas, if it was heavier than air, it would be on top of the heavier one goes on top, the lighter one goes, which is based on gravity. So because it's lighter than air, the gas accumulates at the bottom, where air is heavy on the outside. That's why it can accumulate in a room and then explosion can take place. Now, the important thing is this. When you have it, the nature of the nature of engineering and the way these things have gone, there are no issues. In fact, we need to know that the use of gas for cars is not new. It was actually experimented by Nazi Germany under Hitler shortly before World War II. It's basically the same technology, the same concept and all that's developed over the years.
Okay, now looking at the Nigeria scenario, do you think we are ready for this transition?
Oh, not only are we ready, it actually has been in use in Nigeria for almost 20 years.
Okay.
So NICO in Benin actually had stations, which was part of the partnership that they had with NNPC as far back as the Kupoluku era. But there just wasn't enough interest, primarily because people were comfortable with using their fuel. So it's not just that what remains is the infrastructure. And once people get into the mix, it's fine and dandy.
Now, before I ask you the next question, I would have to introduce our next guest. And joining us via Zoom for this conversation is Dr. Ubani Nkaginieme. He is an electrical engineer and also the president of VGN, which is the Virtual Gas Integrated Association of Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria today.
Thank you very much. Feels good to be here.
Thank you. So we are talking about the auto gas conversion program, talking about the CNG buses. Tell us, how beneficial will these be to Nigerians?
A direct answer to that question will be very, very beneficial, but it's always good to put some of these things in a frame so that people can understand what we are talking about here properly. Conversions will not happen in an isolated premise. And so before you talk of conversion, you need to look at the entire value chain. You have to ask yourself, where is this gas going to come from? Is it an assured supply? You have to ask yourself, when I get this gas, can I process it into CNG? And when I process it into CNG, is there a market for it? Is there a very viable market? So when you answer those three questions, then you have a business. For this to work, it needs to be viable. So it's very important for us to frame these questions and our understanding in this three prisms so that we can appreciate what is about to happen to our national fuel situation. So yes, conversion basically means converting existing vehicles and generators to be able to run on natural gas. Why do we want to do that? We want to do that because natural gas is cleaner, it is safer, and just as important, cheaper. Um, and government has the levers to be able to somewhat control the price of this in a very commercial framework. So yes, it is very, very beneficial. Just to put things in perspective again, natural gas is 18 times statistically safer than petrol. It's anywhere from 30 to 60% cheaper than petrol, depending on the cost that you got the input gas from and the location where you're using the CNG. Because the cost of CNG will be dependent on the cost of the input gas, the compression cost, the logistics cost of bringing that CNG from the mother station where the CNG is made to where you're using it. So you need to look at this holistically. But overall, yes, it's a cheaper gas, it's a safer gas, and it's a much, much cleaner gas. I hope that addresses your question.
Okay. Now, you mentioned some pertinent point that is very, very germane to this discussion. How is it readily available? How available is this gas?
Please, can you repeat the question? Unfortunately.
How available is this gas in Nigeria?
We have lots and lots of gas. Our nation is actually a gas producing nation with quite a bit of crude. Now, this gas, we're flaring lots of it. We have lots of it in our pipelines. Gas is available in most of the Niger Delta, Lagos, and all the way up to Geregu. So mother stations can be built wherever you have these gas pipelines or where you have gas being flared at the flow station. So again, the short answer to the question is yes, gas is very available, but it's not available nationwide. And that brings us to why are we doing CNG? Why are we doing conversions? Why are we doing ABCD? The whole idea of virtual pipeline is to be able to take the gas from where you have a pipeline to every nook and corner of this country where you do not have a pipeline. So CNG and LNG and LPG will help us to leapfrog our very severe deficit in distribution pipeline network. And then we can build the markets and build the volumes until pipelines are able to get to everywhere. That will take a while, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. Now we'll take a break and feel the pulse of Nigerians on the Autogas program. It's put together by Dennis Temple. Don't go away.
As long as the transportation it will mitigate the fuel subsidy removal and also help with affordable and cheaper transport costs, it's okay.
It's a very good idea. You know, gas do not consume like petrol, that is premium motor spirit. So it's a very good idea.
It is a good idea to convert the vehicles to gas in the sense that during this short period of increment in fuel, I personally convert my generator to gas. The number at which I do power it and use it compared to fuel is more bigger. Like it do take me 12 hours to use just only 1 kg of gas. then than fuel. You do take me like 10 liters.
It's not a good idea. The gas, is it the gas we are refining it in our country, or we are taking it as we are taking our fuel to that place? One thing is this: all this plan they are giving, all these things they are giving to us, see, we are not happy. As of today, I hear news that gas now is 1,000 naira per kg. And the people are crying for that gas to be 1,000 naira per kg. When they start it with this bus, using it with this bus, what are we going to do again? So people will not be cooking again.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we are talking about the auto gas conversion program. My guests are still here with me, one in the studio, and of course one via Zoom. Now, sure, we heard what the woman said there, and the gas is about, of course, gas per kg is 1,000 naira, just the recent price. So, what are some of the challenges that you foresee, with this whole auto gas conversion program, the CNG buses and all of that?
I think there are the technical challenges, which basically has to do with things like availability, infrastructure, time to market, and which I believe, to the best of my understanding, NNPC is on top of their game. However, there is also a very critical aspect of it which can easily be overlooked, especially by technical people. And for a technical industry, that is important to note. And that is communication. Now, in any industry, in any organization, corporate communications is a responsibility of management. But in this case, because it's between the governed and the governing, there needs to be constant, regular, and up-to-date communication with the people, not only for them to understand what is going on and to understand the time frame it will take for this thing to be overcome. Now, the woman raised the point. It is a very valid point. It is a housewife's view, but it is practical. Now, it is incumbent upon the NNPC and some of the other people who are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that the supply chain gets to her, to ensure that they communicate that. In simple terms, the NNPC group, particularly the Gas and Power Directorate, which is responsible for this, need to have a communication plan on how to connect with the man on the street so that they will know what they are doing. Because you can be a good man, but if people don't know what you are doing, it's basically winking in the dark. And you are setting yourself up for a crisis. Because yes, we understand the intentions. Yes, we understand the issues. Yes, we understand availability of gas and possible challenges that can come from it. Yes, we understand infrastructure issues. But people need to understand and people need to know that this is not competing or contrary to their house-to-house, day-to-day things. The housewives need to be assured. Otherwise, even the oga too cannot eat. And then the children too cannot go to school. So the housewife herself needs to be assured. The other people within society need to know what they are doing while they do their technical work.
So, Mr. Nkangeneme, you mentioned earlier that there is gas, but then it's not available nationwide. How can it be made available nationwide?
Great question. The fastest way to make gas available nationwide is virtual pipelines. Virtual pipelines basically means CNG, LNG, and LPG, as I said earlier. So we do not need to wait for pipelines to get everywhere in this country. By virtual pipeline, we can get CNG, LNG to every LGA in this country. The analogy is a bit like the old telephone system and the new mobile phones we have today. If we were waiting for cable telephone to get everywhere in this country, we will still be in dark ages. But today, see what mobile phone has done. That's exactly what virtual pipelines is going to do. The objective is to deliver that gas cheaper, safer, to every corner? Is it going to be the same price everywhere? No. Is it going to be cheaper than petrol everywhere? Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, show me. Now, we're talking about the CNG buses, of course, the auto gas conversion and all of that. Now, there has to be sustainability. So what areas should government pay attention to ensure sustainability and, of course, availability?
Well, availability is part of sustainability, and so that we don't use complicated grammar for our people. Basically, when we're talking sustainability, we're just talking about the thing running on a system that is self-sustaining. In other words, if you get to be part of that system, the system itself has a production method which the industry can take care of. It has a distribution method which the industry can take care of by itself. It has a transmission method, which basically means that the person that is producing it is basically making his own money and some extra profit. The person that is buying it is getting value and is able to live a normal life from it. That's the whole idea of sustainable. And of course, in the extended form of it, it does not destroy the environment. That's where we talk about sustainability in terms of the environment. So that's what I mean. So in this case, sustainability will speak to the supply chain, from the process of production to transmission and distribution. It is important to note, despite the analogy, that for the long term, you cannot do without pipeline infrastructure. You must have it because of a number of reasons, in terms of cost, in terms of sustainability, in terms of lasting effect and all that. Yes, for the short term, we can have some things in the virtual, but that cannot be our long-term plan. So, and that is why you will see, not just here, but all over the world, there's a lot of emphasis on the hardcore infrastructure. I mean, there's the AKK that everybody's talking about. There's the Trans-Saharan Nigerian gas pipeline. Trans-Saharan African gas pipeline, which basically is supposed to pass through Nigeria and all that. And of course, the Nigeria-Morocco one. All of that speak to the fact that they recognize that for long-term reliable things, those are the kind of things that lie in store. So it is incumbent, again, upon the people who are supervising this to look at the supply chain as it is today, not as it's reputed to be, in terms of those who will be at different connections, and repair those connections where need be and ensure that it works. That is the responsibility of all of us.
And one last question. Can a vehicle run both fuel and gas system?
Yes, it's possible.
Okay.
Very, very possible.
Thank you very much. And that's it on Nigeria Today. I'd like to appreciate my guest, Olabode Shomi, an energy expert and, of course, a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
The pleasure is all mine.
And also very thank you to Dr. Uban Nkagenieme. He's an electrical engineer and the president of VIGIAN, which is a virtual gas integrated association of Nigeria. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you for being part of this episode of Nigeria Today. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also check out this episode and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am Victoria Clinton. Goodbye.